Welcome back, everybody, to the Meet the Members series at Your Third Base. I'm Bella. I'm the social media manager and the host of the series, and I'm here with Dorothy Chang. She is the founder of Lynx Collective. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually my husband, Andrew Chang, and I are co-founders of Lynx Collective, and we started it earlier this year. It's basically a membership community for early stage tech startup founders.
Great. And so how did you get into that? What was your background?
Yeah, so Andrew and I both spent about the past 20 years working in startups. And we've started things, we've grown things, we've operated things, led things, invested in things, and have been involved with several multi-billion dollar organizations. And so we've learned a lot along the way. We don't know everything, obviously, and there's been a lot of luck too, but we just felt like there's a lot that we know that we can help other people with. And one of the things that we feel very strongly about is that founders are more successful when they know other founders, and when they have the support of experienced investors, operators, founders, within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
And this is especially hard, though, if you aren't already plugged into that ecosystem, or you don't have current contacts. So we have a lot of founders in our community who are first-time founders that might not even be coming from the tech industry, and they're trying to get a new venture off the ground. But we also have founders who are second, third time entrepreneurs who are going through the experience now and say, they've had founder friends in the past, but you don't know anybody else who's doing it right now again.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful, whether you're experienced or totally inexperienced, to be part of this community.
That's great. Yeah, and I see you guys posting on social media all the time, and I've just been so curious to learn more about what the company's all about. So this is such an exciting interview to be doing. So what do you look for in the potential members of Lynx Collective?
Yeah, we're looking for people who are really high potential and really driven, and have something that they want to pour their life into. It's geared towards the very earliest stage founders. So that includes people who are still working full time but have been tinkering with something on the side. Some of those folks know exactly what they want to do, but it's going to just take some time to get there, or they're not ready to give up their salary yet until they build something that they feel like they can either start generating revenue or raise venture funding for. Other people are even less sure of what they're doing and have an inkling of what they want to do, and maybe have been thinking about it for a long time, but realize just thinking about it isn't going to get them anywhere. And so it might be helpful to have the accountability of a group that's meeting regularly, providing some structure and motivation to move things forward. So that's the very earliest stage. We also have founders who are a little bit further along. They've started to build their teams. They have some customers and some revenue coming in, but they're facing a lot of challenges, and it'd be helpful to talk through those challenges with other people. So, so basically we're looking for great tech startup founders at the very earliest parts of their journey who are looking for a community that they want to both learn from and gain from, as well as contribute to.
Right. That's great, too. That's such an exciting opportunity for a lot of people, because there aren't many companies like this that exist, right? I think that it's hard for startup founders to be just on their own trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And, I think everybody in this country over the past few decades have been getting lonelier and lonelier. The U.S. Surgeon General actually put out a whole research paper on this recently. just showing how much lonelier people are. And then, of course, the pandemic didn't help that at all, right? So we've been, kind of losing how much people emphasize or participate in cultural and community organizations, like religious institutions or local community organizations like Kiwanis or Elks. Like those are things that people are not doing as much as they used to. So everybody across the board is lonely. That's the sad truth. And then if you're starting a business and trying to get it off the ground, and you're just working from home by yourself, it's really tough. And from a mental standpoint, it's a real struggle, and there's a lot of kind of that emotional roller coaster you're going through all the time. And so we just thought it'd be really helpful to bring people together more frequently. And they come together and for the most part, I think people are hoping to get a lot of their questions answered and problems solved and move a little faster. And they do. But then I think they get even greater value out of being connected to other people like them and realizing, oh my gosh, it's hard for everyone. Like we're all going through this really tough journey together. And it's a struggle and no one has it easier than anyone else. And this is normal and that's okay. But even though it's hard, I see my friend here, who I've met now through this community, making progress, and they raised money, and I was where they were just 2 months ago. So maybe it's something I could do too. And so it feels more within reach.
Right. And that's so important. That's such a great experience that you're bringing to people.
We're trying to, at least. We just got started, so it's early days, but so far, it's looking promising.
Right. And how long have you been doing this?
Well, we started working on the idea of building something for startup founders around March or April. And then we started testing with about 40 founders for the next 6 months, different offerings and different programming and what we thought might work. And then in September, we officially launched. So it's just been like a month and a half, basically.
That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So with these circles that you have, you kind of touched on it, that it depends on where people are in their journey, but how do you curate those?
So we have basically 3 stages that we bucket most of our founders into. Either they are in a starting stage, and that's like who I mentioned, mostly people who are full-time working but tinkering on the side. And then the second stage is building. So those are folks who have kind of made the leap full-time. They're building their first product, or they've just built it, or they've just built a prototype and they're starting to test it with new potential customers. And then the third stage is what we're calling growing, and that's folks who have a product in market, they're selling it, they've probably raised a little bit of funding, so they're able to hire their first teammates, and they're bringing their product to more customers, growing their revenue, growing their teams, and we bucket it out that way because the challenges that you're facing are pretty different for each one, and we want everybody to be in a circle of peers.
That makes sense. And so speaking of challenges, what would you say is the biggest challenge for startup founders in any of those categories?
I think it's a little bit different for each one. Maybe I'll touch on what it is for each one. I mean, at the starting stage, it's kind of like, when do I have enough conviction that I can make the leap and actually start working on this full time? And I think that's really hard because for most of them, they've never done that before. It's very scary to leap into the unknown. And you're never done. Like at that early stage, you'll never actually build enough conviction to say, this is the idea, this is the one, like this is going to work. And so you have to just like get comfortable with uncertainty and make that leap before you're ready. And then I'd say in the building stage, it's just like building and growing this thing that you believe in. I think it's not getting tied too much to the solution that you're building, but being really focused on solving the problem that you're tackling. It's hard not to fall in love with the first idea or approach or product or feature that you're building.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's going to change. And so that's when you start to get comfortable with like changing and iterating and evolving and coming up with new ideas and executing on them immediately, making the most of your time. And then the third one for folks that are growing, I think that's when you start to realize like, okay, now I'm not just building a product by myself or with a co-founder, but now I'm growing a whole team. And so now I'm learning how to manage a company, and that's all of the things. So you went from just building a product to now like, okay, now I have to think about marketing and HR and legal and finance and learn so much that you didn't know before and make it meaningful. And now you have people that you've employed and they're relying on you, and there's a lot more pressure to make this thing work. As you are learning other things that are less about what you started this for in the first place. So I guess like across those three tracks, there's a lot of uncertainty. You really have to, have the confidence to keep moving forward when you don't have clear signals, and believe in yourself for the sake of not only yourself, but also your customers, your stakeholders, your employees, and just keep moving forward with a little bit of probably unfounded confidence.
And I think especially too, as you're growing, it's a balance between being in control and this is your baby, right? And then going from that to now it's a company and you're responsible for other people and things change, and that's hard for people.
And the other thing I didn't mention too, besides our circles and those, that community, we also put on a lot of programming for our members, and some of it we make available to the public as well. But we're always trying to bring in speakers every week, one or two at least, who are maybe startup investors, or they are marketers or lawyers, or other kind of service providers that work with startups and can share their wisdom and insights, or they're former founders or current founders who can share more about their experiences. And so we have them come in and do talks and office hours and coaching. And I think that's important to mention too, because then, people can really feel like they're learning from people who have been around the block a little bit, and there's more to gain there.
Yeah, definitely. So you are a member here at Your Third Base.
Yes.
Can you tell us why you decided to come work here?
Yeah, I think our situation is probably a little bit unique in the sense that my husband is also my co-founder. We work very closely together. And when we started this, we were just working from home because, of course, that's the easiest thing to do. We're there.
Of course.
And we each had our own little office set up already. And we realized pretty quickly that it wasn't the most conducive environment for productivity. And we also realized that, we sometimes would find ourselves getting into arguments, and then those arguments would not necessarily only be about the work that we're doing. Somehow it would spill into our personal lives. And it's like, you always... It's like, wait, hold on. We've only been working together like this for a couple of weeks. We shouldn't be using that kind of language. So we thought like maybe we should just try working from a co-working space and see if that's better for us mentally. And it's been so great. It's been so great because we have more of a separation between home life and work life. We find that our conversations tend to be much more professional when we're in an office versus at home in the bedroom. And then we take it more seriously. It feels more like a job versus just talking to your spouse. So we're so much more productive. So it's been really wonderful for us.
Yeah. And that is definitely a common thing I feel like we hear at the company too is having a home office is great, but a lot of people there's so many distractions and small things you don't realize. And so it's helpful to have a place to come that's separate from home, and you can have that work-life balance be a little clearer,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, you can't get distracted by the chores you have at home to do, or like the fact that the TV is right there.
Right.
For me also, like I really thrive on the energy of other people.
Yeah.
So like being cooped up in my little office space just by myself, my mind wanders, like I feel bored, I don't feel as motivated.
Right.
And it could be, I could be sitting down and do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm here and there's people walking around and they look busy and purposeful, then, I naturally feel much more that way too.
Right. It helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
And so how has it been for you? It's been working and you have gotten that balance back a little bit in your home life as well?
Absolutely. I forget how long we've been here now, but it's been a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we spend a couple of days a week out of this location. Mm-hmm. We also have that like access to the Industrious network.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes we'll work out of the Short Hills location, which is actually closer to our home. Mm-hmm. We like this location better, though, honestly, because it's nice to see friendly faces we know, like Nancy and Jay.
Right.
And it just feels a little bit more homey in that sense. Yeah. And then sometimes I go into New York City probably once a week or so. Mm-hmm. And so I usually work out of different Industrious offices when I'm in New York City and take meetings there, or find the location that's closest to where I'm going.
Yeah, so it's the perfect blend, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's been working really well for us.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. So what advice would you have for any startup founders or business owners listening?
I think for anyone who's thinking about starting something, my advice is just to do it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be the perfect idea. You don't have to wait for a specific signal to go out and start doing something. Mm-hmm. There's always something that you can do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like quit your job today, but I'm saying you can start working on something. So if you have a concept you have in mind that you've always wanted to test, you don't actually have to go and build the whole product in order to start getting feedback. Mm-hmm. You can just start asking people what they would think about this product and get a little bit of feedback that way.
Great.
Boom, you're already doing market research.
Yeah.
And then you want to take it a step further, create a landing page and see if anybody will sign up. Share it in different Facebook groups or other, online groups or whatever, and see if anybody will sign up. Like, okay, we got some signups. What do these people look like? Who are they? Mm-hmm. Why do they want this thing? How can I hone my concept further based on this little signal that I'm starting to get? So that's kind of the encouragement that I have for anybody who's thinking about, should I start something? Do I want to start something? It's like, if you have that inkling, go for it, try it. You won't know whether it's going to work out until you actually try it.
Right. And I always say, too, it's better to try and have it not work out than just always wonder.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. There's only one way to find out.
Yeah. Definitely. So this is your sign. If you're listening and you have an idea, take this as your sign.
Exactly.
And where can people find you and find Lynx Collective on social media and websites and all of that?
Yeah, we've got all of the things. So our website is Lynx, Lynx, like the animal, lynxcollective.com. We just started a newsletter, so you can sign up there. It's lynxcollective.substack.com.
Great.
And look up Lynx Collective on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. We've got content that we're pushing out there all the time.
Yes.
In those places, and I hope it's helpful to you.
Yeah. So we'll definitely make sure you're tagged and everything is linked so people can find you.
Thank you.
It was great having you. This has been such a fun interview, and I feel like I've learned so much. So we are wishing you the best, and we love having you guys as members. So
thank you
for
so much.
us.
We love that this exists. We were so excited when we heard that it was coming to our area. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, stay tuned for our next episode coming soon, and make sure you check out Lynx Collective. Bye, everyone. This episode of the Meet the Members series was filmed in the Your Third Base podcast studio in Maplewood, New Jersey.
If you would like to learn more about our offerings, including our co-working space, private offices, and bookable spaces like the podcast room, please visit our website, yourthirdbase.com. Thank you again to Dorothy for being our guest this week, and stay tuned for more episodes coming soon.